Today on Aging Untold, medical overload. When you're faced with tests, procedures, and medications, but it just feels like too much.
More care doesn't mean better care.
We'll share the questions you can ask your doctors to get the care that's right for you. Plus, for some, why saying sorry becomes a go-to response, even when there's nothing to apologize for.
Apologizing for being a human being should never have to happen.
We'll explore what's behind it and offer simple ways to respond so seniors feel respected and supported. Then, inside a place where young and old spend the day together.
To have generations be together is like real life.
We'll see how intergenerational centers build connection and what they can teach all of us. Experts with advice and solutions. You're watching Aging Untold with Aging Well Coach Catherine Ambrose, gerontologist Sam Craddock, aging expert Amy O'Rourke, and board-certified physician Dr. Ray Rogers. We're all getting older. It's about time we talked about it.
Welcome to Aging Untold. For older adults, especially those living with chronic conditions, a routine doctor's visit can quickly turn into more tests, more treatments, and even more medications. So how do you know what's truly necessary and what might add side effects or complications without improving quality of life? Dr. Ray, how can patients spot overtreatment?
Well, I think the first thing is to understand that more care doesn't mean better care. And as we age, just like you said, I call it 3 M's. You know, it's so easy to fall into that cycle of more testing, more treatment, and more medication. And so you can spot that by looking at what is overtreatment. You know, when your doses exceed what you really need, then we have a problem. But at the same time, we have a problem with undertreatment. And if you look at where it's coming from, I think it's a society of everybody wants to sue. So people are overdoing it so they can protect themselves and underdoing it to protect themselves. But you can spot it as specifically an overtreatment by, number one, looking at your medication list. If your medication list keeps going longer and longer and longer and nobody's checking it and seeing what you need, that's a problem. The other thing is you're treating the symptoms and not the patient. You know, so and that's done quite a lot. So you end up adding more things because this symptom you treat this, and then this one you treat this and then the other thing is it a symptom or is it a new disease? So a lot of times people have these symptoms, but they're not. They're symptoms because of the other medication you gave them that you're overtreating, and it's not really a new disease. You know, and then the other thing that people need to look at is if I order a test for you, why am I ordering it? Is it going to change my outcome? Right. Is it going to change my treatment? If it's not going to change my management, then why am I ordering? You know, and then you have a lot of specialists. You have primary care. You got to involve all these specialists, and sometimes people are not talking with each other. So you have all these different meds going on from different
You get
people.
5 doctors and 5 opinions and 5 different people, and then unfortunately, I see it a lot with our age community where there's a little bit of a white coat syndrome, but there's also that mindset of just take a pill to feel better. And so oftentimes what I see is actually driven a lot of times by the patients themselves, and then the doctor's not managing that mindset well enough because we do want to just make people happy at the end of the day. And so sometimes when you come in and, oh, this hurts, this hurts, this hurts,
What you got for me?
it becomes this, and then that pill, like you said, that medication list just keeps growing and growing.
And we don't
growing.
question because you think about how we've changed in times. Before, if the doctor told you to do something, you just did it.
Right.
But now, you know, with the internet and everything, you need to be a partner. You need to question why. You need to understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Right.
I think the easiest example is somebody has a viral infection and they're getting antibiotics. That's like the easy example for me to kind of grasp onto. But this overtreatment issue is nationwide. It's been happening for a long time. The American Board of Internal Medicine started a campaign, finished the campaign called Choosing Wisely. Because of this, they wanted to start a national conversation about overtreatment. It doesn't matter what age. But for older people, like you were saying, Sam, it could cause harm.
Yes.
You picture them going into the hospital and running them in and out, somebody with dementia and an MRI, CT scan, and all this moving, and they're not going to benefit from it. So I think about taking like shaken baby syndrome, like taking a vulnerable older adult, like shaking them, and then for what purpose?
Right. And they have to know that, you know, it's not always doing less, but it's doing the correct thing. It's doing the right thing. And finding that right thing has to be, going back to what you say all the time,
Doing what truly matters.
find
not
the why.
more or less. Yeah,
Find the why. Why is your hip hurting? Do I need to give you more medicine, or do I need to maybe get you in PT and get you moving?
But movement would solve a lot of issues. I saw something really disappointing, and that was that maybe about 85% of what you do is like movement, sleep, stress, nutrition. 15% is like the extra stuff that you can write a check for. You know, I'm like really good with the 15%.
I think the 4 questions that came out of this campaign is a lot of what you were saying, Dr. Ray. Is it necessary? Is it going to cause harm?
Is it going to improve my quality of life?
Is it going to improve my quality of life? And is it duplicative?
Yeah.
And so when I look at that campaign and you screen for each of those questions, you can maybe have a better chance at not getting overtreated.
I think the question needs to be asked not should we do this or can we do this, but should we do this?
And, you know, everybody, I don't really want to add years to my life.
Right.
I want to add life to my years.
life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Right. I want life.
are we prolonging life or postponing death?
Yeah.
And that can be a big one.
The book being mortal, I think it's really interesting that doctors will say that they might not choose treatment for themselves sometimes at a certain point because they want to prioritize comfort, function, and meaning when the outcome is not likely to change.
Still ahead, inside a community where older adults and children spend their days together.
It's kind of a highlight of the day because they give back so much to us.
We'll show you how kids help older adults feel more energized and what kids gain from that bond. But first, why do so many seniors start with sorry?
It's not really an apology. I think it's a signal.
We'll show you what's driving it and how to ask for help without apologizing first.
You may have heard your parents or an older friend or family member start with, "Sorry to interrupt," or "Sorry to bother you." A lot of times they'll apologize before they even ask for help. Amy, what's behind that, and why does sorry become such a default for so many older adults?
So I've seen it, and I've also not seen it. So I would throw a bone out there to some family members don't apologize, and they feel a part of the family. But those that do, they never thought they'd be in this position. They might have a sense of low self-worth. They might have been this way their whole life, and they feel guilty, they feel bad. And so I like to help people talk about partnering with them, working with you together. You're apologizing a lot. I'm afraid. Tell them what you're afraid of. You're apologizing. I'm going to miss something, and I don't want to miss what you might be saying to me.
Yeah, I think as we age, we have more health issues. Of course, we have more limitations and all that. And I think the brain processes the stresses and the uncertainty in a different way. So I really think it's not really an apology. I think it's a signal. They're asking for help, but they don't want to ask for help because that makes them feel like they have lost their autonomy and their independence and all that. So that's really a signal, and it's up to us when we keep hearing that. Let's look to offer support and help them that back door.
Yeah, I like that. And being direct about it. Like you keep apologizing and then dig a little deeper.
Yeah, and so put it on us, so it's not on them.
Yeah.
So they're not asking for help. We're just, hey, let me do this for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's cultural. I mean, so many people think when they hear the word cultural that you're only talking about race, but it's where were you raised, how were you raised. So that Southern hospitality of I'm sorry is a lot of times like excuse me.
Yeah.
You know, that's the intro into a conversation, but also we can't negate that you're grieving your own abilities. Right now, you're grieving the fact that, I'm sorry, can you get me a glass of water? Is, I'm sorry that I can't get myself a glass of water. And I'm sorry that I need you to do it for me.
It's also women across generations in particular that were socialized to smooth interactions and take up less space.
That's right.
And so it can be something that you just carry with you through your lifetime. And so we want to teach our girls, and we want to have conversations as women about not doing that all the time, not going back to that default.
It doesn't mean you got to be rude. You can still be polite. You know, it doesn't mean you got to be demanding and overbearing. You can still be polite, but apologizing for being a human being should never have to happen. And we have unfortunately developed a culture where we believe that because we're slower, because we can do less, because our functions have changed, that we are lesser as humans.
Or we're a burden.
Or we've become a burden.
I think what I hear is unrealistic expectations. Like with the child, I expect that I'm going to be doing these things, and some people think unrealistically, they're not really thinking, oh, I'm going to eventually take care of my mom or my dad. So really adjusting your expectations is really helpful. And this is if they're apologizing a lot, it's a good way to say, can we just talk about this?
Coming up, a home bought sight unseen and a discovery he never expected.
It had a front and a rear on it. So I'm picking this up and looking and think, this is amazing.
We'll show you what's been pulled from this Arizona man's yard and why experts say this site is unlike any other in North America. And up next, a place where activities, story time, and laughter bring young and old together.
It gives you a feeling of different feeling if you are talking or seeing some children rather than some old people.
We'll show you how intergenerational programs create a stronger sense of community for everyone.
Finding the right living arrangement for older adults can be a struggle. Some say it's time to rethink how we house our aging population. One idea, bringing older adults and young people together under one roof. Kristen Crowley is outside Wichita, Kansas, and takes us inside an intergenerational center.
Inside this senior living facility, you'll see what you might expect. There's a dining hall, quiet places to read, a peaceful garden, and programs like this morning exercise class. But if you stick around for a moment, you'll also see the unexpected.
Good morning, good morning.
And you'll hear it too.
Who's going to make the train sound?
Well, it's kind of the highlight of the day because they give back so much to us.
At Showalter Villa, just outside Wichita, Kansas, seniors and children come together under one roof. It's called an intergenerational center, where children attend daycare and seniors live in a traditional nursing home setting. It's one of the only ones in the state. Jill Moore is the life enrichment coordinator here. She plans the activities between the seniors, called Grand Friends, who live at the villa, and the children who go to daycare at Heston Child Development Center.
It's one building, but it's two separate entities.
It's two separate companies.
But they share the same goal.
March.
Getting these groups together to interact, from working out to playing games.
9, 10, 11, throw.
Former director Judy Friesen helped get the program off the ground here roughly 15 years ago. Since she retired, Jill's helped to keep it going.
What kind of impact does this have, having children and seniors under one roof?
You see that it creates joy in people. To have generations be together is like real life.
It gives you a feeling of different feeling if you are talking or seeing some children rather than some old people.
And that's exactly the idea behind centers like these.
Donna Butts is the executive director at Generations United, a leading advocate for intergenerational care centers. Butts says research is clear about the benefits of combining young and old in one building.
Older adults who are around younger children, they have more of a sense of optimism. They have a tendency to take better care of themselves, to score better on memory tests.
As we age, isolation and loneliness become major health risks. Researchers say they lead to increased risks of dementia, depression, and anxiety. As close family and friends die or move away, loneliness can be hard to avoid.
Well, I would certainly like to see my grandchildren more than I do, but I no longer have a car.
Being a grand friend helps fill the void.
I would like to be close to my family, but this is second best.
They just give us new energy and reasons to smile.
And it's not just a benefit to the elderly either.
How many grandfriends do you have? That many? Or this many?
But says nationwide, while interest is growing, there are roughly only 200 of these facilities. And these advocates believe in time and with more awareness, what's now unexpected will become the norm, bringing together people who are not so different, but who make a huge difference in each other.
Experts say models like these could help with the growing crisis of shrinking daycare and nursing home staff and facilities. Nationwide, 72% of nursing homes say their current workforce levels are lower than they were pre-pandemic, and childcare programs are shrinking as costs to run them increase. In Kansas City, I'm Kristen Crowley.
Well, I'm so excited because Blue Stem Showalter Village is part of my hometown area. We've been to their campus many times. Another thing they have on that campus are college students and coffee shops where people can come together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and people that may have grown up around there will move back from all across the country to be back in this area, and they know what a wonderful place it is to live.
I've seen families bring their kids into a community, and you can see the fear on some of the kids, and I feel bad. Like, this is the antidote to that, not feeling afraid because they don't know, or they're afraid of a wheelchair or a walker, or even just an older person that looks different from them.
It's one of the unfortunate side effects of all the travel and the distance that we have now. It used to be, families were raised in those really close communities, and
we don't have that.
you watched your age family members get older and need more. And you were close to your grandparents.
It just reminds me that sometimes the best medicine isn't always in a bottle.
That's right.
It's a relationship.
Thank you.
Because
so true.
Physically what's going on for the older person, I mean, you're helping them, inflammation and all that, and stimulating their brain. And then that younger person, they start to become more empathetic.
It's right. The way to build empathy right there.
Up next, we'll show you why this retiree says he has a museum in his front yard and what scientists say his discovery reveals.
A retired Chicago lawyer thought he was buying a quiet Arizona retreat until a walk behind his new home turned up something shocking. Reporter Mason Carroll has more.
I come out in the morning, drink my coffee, and just sit there and look at that and think, I have an entire museum in my front yard.
James Lang bought his property without even visiting it in person after retiring from a law career in Chicago.
Once you start looking at it, you can see all kinds of things.
He was hoping for a peaceful retirement, but one day on a walk, he noticed something sticking out of the wash with footprints.
It had a front and a rear on it. So I'm picking this up, looking to think, this is amazing. So I'm hauling this rock up. We had walked a quarter mile and realized that there had to be more down there,
It started a 5-year journey of retrieving slabs of rocks with preserved Chirotherium tracks.
Well, these aren't actually dinosaurs. These are pre-dinosaurs. They're archosaurs. They're big reptiles. But it's called Chirotherium because it looks like a hand. So Chiro means hand. Therium means monster or beast.
He knew he had something incredible. So he reached out to Spencer Lucas at the New Mexico Museum of Natural History and Science, who brought a team of paleontologists to Lang's home.
So that the animals were not walking on the sandstone. They were walking on the clay. And then when the sandstone was deposited, was laid down, it filled in.
It was clear this discovery was one of a kind.
It is the most extensive and well-preserved footprint locality of its age in North America, which makes it one of the best in the world.
Now there's a scientific paper on the tracks, and they're at the New Mexico Museum for further study, and soon they'll be on display. Lang says he wants to keep finding more tracks and hopes to get them in museums across the U.S. to inspire the next generation to dig for their own dinosaurs.
Well, I think it's great. I've got a friend I grew up with since first grade whose grandson out in California has been following along. I've been sending him pictures, and I sent him some tracks, and he's just blown away. And I thought, wow, if he's going to be the next paleontologist, that's pretty cool, you know.
Wow, sounds like he got more than he's bargained for, and he's happy about it.
Right.
Coming from real estate, I think it's interesting that he bought it without seeing it, which is not completely uncommon, but he probably wouldn't have known that that was there anyway. But I think it's been great entertainment.
And what made him look down and keep pursuing? I'm not sure if I would have done that, or then to recognize and say this might be something, and then keep pushing to see what else was there.
I wonder what kind of attorney he was. That might be.
Well, he probably grew up as one of those boys that was fascinated with dinosaurs, and then he sees the track.
Exactly.
My oldest boy would have noticed it right away. He was a dinosaur kid.
My family would have too.
Yeah.
We would have been very curious about it. And we had a dinosaur kid too. So much fun. Yeah, we would have definitely noticed and been intrigued. So.
And then 5 years worth. 5 years, and he's still got enthusiasm about it, and he's engaging his family in it, and
the largest in the world of preserved footprints right there in his backyard. Can you imagine getting to buy that?
Yeah.
He recognized it and he saw it, and now he's got a whole new career. He's not just a lawyer.
Absolutely.
He's an entertainer.
He's an entertainer and a faux paleontologist.
Wow, fabulous story. Well, we're all getting older, and it's about time we talk about it. Until next time on Aging Untold.
On the next Aging Untold, whether it's shortness of breath, dizziness, or a decline in energy, these could be more than just signs of getting older.
Once you make the diagnosis that the person has anemia, then it's going to fall into about 3 different categories.
A closer look at a treatable condition affecting millions of seniors that often mimics normal aging.